Well, Bruce Willis dropped in the other day.
And now Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Oh, no. You are so cool. You are really cool.
What if I told you that one of Hollywood's toughest action heroes can no longer speak? The man who saved the world in Die Hard, who made us laugh and cry in countless movies, is now fighting the hardest battle of his life. And this isn't a movie script. This is real life, and it's breaking millions of hearts around the world. Today, we're going to talk about Bruce Willis and the heartbreaking news that changed everything for him and his family. But before we dive into the difficult parts, let me take you on a journey through the amazing life of a man who overcame incredible challenges to become one of the biggest stars on Earth. Bruce Willis wasn't always the confident action hero we know and love. In fact, his story starts with a little boy who couldn't even speak properly. Born on March 19, 1955, in a small German town, Bruce came into the world during a time when everything was complicated. His father was an American soldier, and his mother was German. When Bruce was just 2 years old, his family packed up everything and moved to New Jersey. Imagine being a little kid, suddenly thrown into a completely different world. Bruce didn't just have to learn a new place. He had to figure out where he belonged. His family didn't have much money. His dad worked with metal, and his mom took small jobs at banks just to make ends meet. But the hardest part wasn't the money. It was something else entirely. When Bruce was around 6 years old, something happened that would shape his entire childhood. He developed a terrible stutter. Words would get stuck in his throat like they were trapped behind a wall. He would try to say something simple, and nothing would come out right. The other kids at school were cruel. They gave him a mean nickname, Buck Buck, and laughed at him every time he tried to speak. Picture this little boy standing in front of his class, try to answer a question, and the words just won't come. Sometimes it took him several minutes just to get one sentence out. He would get so frustrated and embarrassed that he would lash out with his fists, try to defend himself the only way he knew how. But fighting didn't fix his speech. It just made him feel more alone. School became like a battlefield for Bruce. He would skip classes just to avoid being called on by teachers. He became the class clown, pulling pranks and being silly, hoping that if he made people laugh, they wouldn't notice when he couldn't get his words out. By the time he reached high school, things seemed hopeless. He was a kid who couldn't speak properly, and he felt like he would never fit in anywhere. But then something magical happened. When Bruce was about 15 years old, he decided to join the drama club. Nobody expected much from the stuttering kid who got into fights and skipped classes. But the moment Bruce stepped onto that stage and started reading lines from a play, something incredible happened. The stutter disappeared. Just like that, like someone had flipped a switch. For the first time in his life, Bruce could speak clearly and confidently. The words flowed out of him like water from a dam that had finally burst open. Teachers were amazed. Other students stopped laughing and started listening. Bruce realized that when he pretended to be someone else, when he became a character, his real voice could finally be heard. This discovery changed everything for Bruce. Acting didn't just give him a hobby or a way to pass time. It gave him back his voice. It gave him confidence. By 1973, he had become student council president. The same kid who used to hide from speaking in public was now leading his entire school. Even though some kids still made fun of him, he didn't care anymore. He had found something that made him feel alive and powerful. After high school, Bruce went to college to study theater. He got help from professors who taught him special techniques to control his speech. But by 1977, Bruce was tired of sitting in classrooms. He wanted to chase his dreams in the real world. So he packed up his few belongings and moved to New York City with almost no money and no connections. Life in New York was brutal for young Bruce. He worked long hours as a bartender just to afford tiny apartments and sometimes had to sleep on friends' couches. But even while mixing drinks and cleaning glasses, Bruce never gave up on his dream. He would turn the bar into his own little stage, making customers laugh with his jokes and stories. He even played the harmonica for tips and skated to work to save money on transportation. The rejections were constant and painful. In his first year alone, Bruce faced over 100 no responses from casting directors and agents. He would go to audition after audition, pouring his heart into every performance, only to be told he wasn't what they were looking for. Some nights, when money was really tight, he had to sleep on park benches. But he kept going because he knew that somewhere deep inside, he had something special to offer the world. Finally, in 1977, Bruce got his first real role in a play called Heaven and Earth. The pay was terrible, barely enough to buy food, but it was a start. He began getting small parts in commercials and tiny roles in movies. In 1980, he even got to appear briefly in a scene with the legendary Frank Sinatra. Each role was like a stepping stone, leading him closer to his dream. One night, while working at a bar, Bruce got into a fight while trying to protect someone who was being bullied. His nose was broken so badly that he needed emergency surgery. Doctors warned him that the injury might affect his voice, the very thing he had worked so hard to control. But Bruce recovered, and the scar that remained actually gave him a tough, interesting look that would later help him in action movies. During his struggling years in New York, Bruce met another bartender named John Goodman, who would later become a famous actor too. Together, they would put on wild, improvised plays in tiny venues, performing for small crowds who were amazed by their raw energy and talent. They earned just a few dollars each week, but the passion was real. These performances taught Bruce how to think quickly on his feet and gave him the confidence that would later light up movie screens around the world. Then came 1985, the year that changed Bruce's life forever. A new TV show called Moonlighting was looking for a male lead, and thousands of actors wanted the job. ABC, the television network, rejected Bruce 11 times. 11 times. Most people would have given up after 2 or 3 rejections, but not Bruce. He came back one final time with a completely different look. He had shaved his head, wore earrings, and brought an attitude that couldn't be ignored. Instead of reading the lines exactly as written, he made up his own dialogue and made the producers laugh out loud. Suddenly, the network executives realized that this former stuttering kid from New Jersey was exactly what their show needed. Moonlighting premiered on March 3rd, 1985, and Bruce Willis became a star overnight. The show was unlike anything on television at the time. It was expensive, chaotic, and episodes were much longer than normal shows. Bruce's chemistry with his co-star Sybil Shepherd was electric, even though they often fought behind the scenes. Sometimes they would argue so much that they refused to speak to each other between takes, but somehow this tension made their on-screen relationship even more interesting to watch. The pressure of sudden fame was overwhelming. Bruce was working incredibly long hours, memorizing huge amounts of dialogue, and dealing with the stress of being in the spotlight for the first time. In 1988, his body couldn't take it anymore, and he collapsed from exhaustion. He had to be rushed to the hospital, but even this scary experience couldn't slow him down for long. While starring in Moonlighting, Bruce did something that surprised everyone. He released a music album called The Return of Bruno in January 1987. Nobody expected a TV star to become a recording artist, but Bruce's album was actually successful. It sold over 500,000 copies, and even reached number 2 on the music charts in England. Critics didn't like it, but fans loved hearing Bruce sing classic songs in his own unique style. But Moonlighting was taking a toll on everyone involved. Each episode cost over $1 million to make, which was enormous for a TV show at that time. When Sybil Shepherd became pregnant in 1987, it caused major delays in filming. Then in 1988, a writer's strike nearly shut down the entire show. On May 14, 1989, after 4 incredible years, Moonlighting finally came to an end. Bruce had given everything he had to the show, and it had made him famous. But he was exhausted and ready for something new. That something new turned out to be bigger than anyone could have imagined. A movie script called Die Hard was floating around Hollywood, and all the biggest action stars had already turned it down. Arnold Schwarzenegger said no. Sylvester Stallone passed on it. Even Frank Sinatra was offered the role because the story was technically connected to an old movie he had starred in decades earlier. He wasn't interested either. Then, out of nowhere, the studio decided to offer the role to Bruce Willis. People in Hollywood thought the executives had lost their minds. Bruce was known as the funny, charming guy from Moonlighting, not as an action hero. Even more shocking was the salary they offered him, $5 million. That was the kind of money usually reserved for the biggest movie stars in the world, like Robert Redford or Dustin Hoffman. Filming began in late 1987, mostly inside a real skyscraper called Fox Plaza in Los Angeles. Nobody had any idea that this movie would become one of the greatest action films ever made. When Die Hard was released on July 15, 1988, it exploded at the box office, making over $140 million worldwide and turning Bruce Willis into a genuine action hero. But success came with a price. During one of the movie's many explosive scenes, a detonation went off too close to Bruce, causing permanent hearing damage in his left ear. He kept this injury secret at the time because he didn't want to interrupt filming. But years later, it was revealed that his hearing never fully recovered. This injury would become part of the health problems that would follow him for the rest of his life. What made Die Hard so special wasn't just explosions and stunts. It was Bruce's performance as John McClane, a regular guy caught in an impossible situation. He didn't look like a superhero. He looked like someone you might meet at the grocery store or at your kid's school. He got hurt, he bled, he was scared, and he made mistakes. Audiences loved him because he felt real and relatable. Just 1 year after Die Hard made him an action star, Bruce surprised everyone again by taking a very different kind of role. He agreed to be the voice of a talking baby in a movie called Look Who's Talking. It sounded like a silly idea, but Bruce was smart about the deal he made. Instead of just taking a flat fee, he negotiated to receive a share of the movie's profits. For just 4 days of voice recording work, Bruce earned $10 million. The movie itself cost less than $10 million to make, but it ended up earning almost $300 million worldwide. Bruce's voice, full of charm and humor, made the talking baby character lovable to families everywhere. The movie became so popular that they made sequels, and Bruce earned another $10 million for the second film. This success showed that Bruce wasn't just lucky. He was also very smart about his career choices. He understood that taking risks and trying different types of roles could lead to big rewards, both creatively and financially. In 1989, Bruce decided to try something completely different again. He starred in a quiet, emotional movie called In Country, about a Vietnam War veteran living in a small town. Bruce grew a mustache and played the role with deep, quiet pain. The character reminded him of his own father, who had fought in the Korean War, and maybe that personal connection made his performance feel more real and honest. Critics liked the movie and gave it good reviews, but audiences didn't show up to theaters. The film only made a few $1 million, which was considered a failure compared to his other movies. But Bruce didn't care about the money. He was proud of performance, and it showed that he was willing to take artistic risks, even if it meant walking away from guaranteed hits. By 1990, Bruce was ready to return to action. Die Hard 2 hit theaters on July 4th, and this time Bruce knew exactly what he was worth. He negotiated for $7.5 million up front, plus percentage of profits. The movie earned over $240 million worldwide, even more than the original Die Hard. Behind the scenes, Bruce fought with the director about keeping the action realistic. He didn't want cartoonish, over-the-top stunts. He wanted the danger to feel real and believable. This attention to detail and his insistence on quality became a trademark of his career. When the third Die Hard movie was made in 1995, his salary had jumped to $15 million. But not every project Bruce touched turned to gold. The sequel to Look Who's Talking was released in late 1990 and was a major disappointment. It only made $47 million and got terrible reviews from critics. Bruce had recorded all his lines in just 3 days, and he later admitted that the script wasn't ready and the movie was rushed into production. He even tried to sue the producer, claiming they owed him $2 million from profits, but the case was thrown out of court. It was a reminder that even the biggest stars can have failures. In 1994, something happened that changed how people saw Bruce Willis as an actor. Director Quentin Tarantino cast him in Pulp Fiction as Butch, a boxer who refuses to lose a fight on purpose. The movie didn't just revive Bruce's career. It made people see him as a serious, talented actor who could do much more than just action movies. For this role, Bruce only made $800,000, which was much less than his usual fee. But he didn't care about the money. He cared about being part of something special and artistic. Pulp Fiction went on to earn over $200 million and win an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Although Bruce wasn't nominated for an Oscar, people finally started taking him seriously as more than just an action star. The next year, Bruce pushed himself even further in 12 Monkeys, a strange, dark movie about a man from a post-apocalyptic future. He lost 20 pounds for the role and visited mental hospitals to prepare for playing a character who might be insane. During filming, he fractured his shoulder doing a stunt, but he kept working despite the pain. The movie made over $160 million and earned 2 Oscar nominations. Once again, Bruce wasn't nominated personally, but no one could deny how deeply committed he was to his craft. In 1997, Bruce took on one of his most unusual roles in The Fifth Element, a wild, colorful science fiction movie set in the future. He played a cab driver who becomes Earth's last hope against an alien threat. The movie was incredibly expensive for its time, costing almost $90 million, but it made over $260 million worldwide. Bruce did many of his own stunts and had to wear tight, uncomfortable costumes that he hated, but somehow it all worked perfectly. The movie became a cult classic that fans still love today. Then came 1998 and Armageddon, the movie that would become one of Bruce's biggest hits and also one of his most difficult experiences. He played Harry Stamper, a tough oil driller who is sent into space to stop a giant asteroid from destroying Earth. The movie was released on July 1st and made more than $553 million worldwide, making it the top film of the year. But behind the scenes, things were terrible. Bruce fought constantly with director Michael Bay over scenes that were cut from the movie, especially the emotional family moments that Bruce thought were important. He also argued with producer Jerry Bruckheimer and later said that the entire filming experience was miserable and stressful. Despite all the problems, Bruce managed to improvise one of the film's most touching scenes, a tearful goodbye that helped audiences connect emotionally with the story. The movie received 4 Oscar nominations, but ironically, Bruce was given a Razzie Award for Worst Actor in 1999. It was a strange twist for such a huge success. While his career was soaring, Bruce's personal life was also making headlines. In 1987, he met actress Demi Moore at a movie screening while she was engaged to another man. But just 4 months later, on November 21st, 1987, Bruce and Demi got married in Las Vegas. Demi later said the wedding wasn't even planned. They were on their way to gamble when Bruce suddenly suggested they just get married right then and there. A month later, they had a proper ceremony with about 100 guests, including the famous singer Little Richard as a person who performed the wedding ceremony. The quick Las Vegas wedding cost less than $1,000, but it marked the beginning of one of Hollywood's most talked-about relationships. Bruce and Demi became parents to 3 daughters, Rumor in 1988, Scout in 1991, and Tallulah in 1994. They tried to balance their movie careers with raising their children by taking turns accepting roles, but fame brought enormous stress to their marriage. Demi earned a record-breaking $12.5 million for the movie Striptease in 1996, but rumors of affairs began to surround both of them. Bruce was linked to models, and Demi was linked to her co-stars. In 1998, after 11 years of marriage, Bruce and Demi separated. Their divorce was finalized in October 2000. On the surface, the split looked peaceful and friendly, but behind closed doors, they fought over their $200 million fortune. Bruce ended up paying Demi up to $90 million, making it one of the most expensive Hollywood divorces ever. They also had to work out custody arrangements for their 3 daughters. Bruce told Rolling Stone magazine that they stayed friends for the sake of their children, but sources said it wasn't always easy. Demi kept their ranch in Idaho, where she raised the girls most of the time. Despite the divorce, the 2 managed to maintain a relationship that would surprise many people in years to come. In 1999, Bruce starred in The Sixth Sense, a quiet thriller that took the entire world by surprise. He played a child psychologist named Malcolm Crowe, and the movie had a twist ending that nobody saw coming. Crowe had been dead the entire time, and only the audience realized it in the final moments. The film made nearly $673 million worldwide and stayed at #1 at the box office for 5 straight weeks. It became the second biggest movie of 1999, just behind Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. Bruce kept the movie's secret twist from almost everyone, including his own family, and even improvised scenes to make his character feel more real and believable. Although he didn't get an Oscar nomination, the role gave his career another major boost and proved that he could carry a quiet, psychological thriller just as well as a loud action movie. As the new millennium began, Bruce's life took some interesting turns. In 2009, he surprised everyone by marrying British model Emma Hemming. They had met 2 years earlier, and despite their 24-year age difference, he was 54, she was 30, they fell in love. They got married in a private ceremony at his home in Turks and Caicos on March 21st. Demi Moore and his 3 daughters were there to celebrate with them. A few days later, Bruce and Emma made their marriage official in a ceremony in Beverly Hills. 10 years later, they returned to that same beach where they first got married to renew their vows, this time with all 5 of Bruce's daughters watching. It was peaceful, beautiful, and represented a second chance at lasting happiness. Bruce and Emma had 2 daughters together, Mabel in 2012 and Evelyn in 2014. Bruce was now a father of 5 girls, and he seemed to love every minute of it. He was often photographed taking his daughters to school, attending their sports games, and just being a regular dad despite his fame. But even with all this happiness, Bruce continued to face challenges. In 2015, intruders tried to break into their ranch in Idaho. The break-in was stopped before anyone was hurt, but it was terrifying for the entire family. Security was immediately upgraded with gates, cameras, and armed guards, costing around $500,000 every year. What made the situation even scarier was that one of the intruders was caught with personal photos of the Willis family, suggesting that this wasn't a random crime. Bruce, who had always seemed fearless on screen, took private defense training after this incident. Their peaceful ranch became more like a fortress. Fame, it seemed, came with dangers that most people never had to worry about. Throughout the 2010s, people began to notice that Bruce was appearing in more and more low-budget movies that went straight to video instead of being released in theaters. These films had titles like Vice and Extraction, and many of them seemed to be made quickly with small budgets. Bruce would sometimes appear in 4 or 5 of these movies in a single year. At the time, some people thought Bruce was just trying to make easy money. But looking back now, these roles were actually early signs of something much more serious. People close to productions began noticing that Bruce seemed confused sometimes. He would forget lines or need to use an earpiece to hear his dialogue. Some directors had to use body doubles or shoot around his difficulties. In March 2022, Bruce's family made an announcement that shocked the world. They released a statement saying that Bruce had been diagnosed with aphasia, a brain condition that affects a person's ability to speak, understand language, read, and write. At age 67, Bruce was stepping away from acting immediately. Aphasia can be caused by strokes, brain injuries, or degenerative diseases. For an actor whose entire career was built on his ability to deliver lines with perfect timing and emotion, this diagnosis was devastating. Suddenly, all those strange performances in recent films made perfect sense. Bruce hadn't been lazy or just collecting paychecks. He had been struggling with a serious medical condition while trying to continue working. The news hit fans around the world like a punch to the stomach. Bruce Willis, the man who had entertained millions of people for decades, could no longer do the thing he loved most. Emma later revealed that she had initially thought Bruce was just becoming distant and moody, but she didn't realize it was actually his brain changing due to the disease. By February 2023, the family received even worse news. Doctors confirmed that Bruce's aphasia had progressed into frontotemporal dementia, a rare and incurable disease that slowly destroys the parts of the brain responsible for personality, language, and movement. This type of dementia is particularly cruel because it often affects people who are still relatively young and healthy in other ways. Frontotemporal dementia is different from Alzheimer's disease. While Alzheimer's mainly affects memory at first, frontotemporal dementia changes personality and behavior. People with this condition might become impulsive, lose their social filters, or have difficulty controlling their emotions. They might not recognize family members or understand where they are. Eventually, they lose the ability to speak, walk, or take care of themselves. Emma described watching the man she loved slowly disappear. His once lively personality began to fade. His movements became slower and less coordinated. He spoke less and less until eventually he barely communicated at all. For someone who had built his entire life around communication and performance, this must have been incredibly frustrating and frightening. On August 15th, 2025, Bruce's family made one of the most difficult decisions of their lives. Bruce moved into a specialized care facility not far from his family's home. Emma later called it the hardest decision she had ever had to make, but it became necessary as Bruce needed round-the-clock medical care that the family couldn't provide a home. The care facility cost more than $200,000 per year and has staff trained specifically to work with dementia patients. Bruce's room is decorated with photos of his family and mementos from his movie career, hoping that familiar objects might help him feel more comfortable and connected to his life. Emma made this decision partly to protect their younger daughters, Mabel and Evelyn, who were just 13 and 11 years old at the time. She didn't want them to see their father in the most difficult stages of his illness. It was an act of love, but it was also heartbreaking for everyone involved. The family visits Bruce often, sharing meals and trying to create moments of joy when they can. Sometimes Bruce will laugh, that same booming, unmistakable laugh that fans remember from his movies. Sometimes he'll hear a song from his 1987 album, The Return of Bruno, and something will light up in his eyes for just a moment. These brief moments of connection are precious to his family, but they're also painful reminders of everything the disease has taken away. By mid-2025, Bruce could no longer speak at all. The man who once commanded movie screens with just his voice, who had overcome a childhood stutter to become one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars, had lost his ability to communicate with words. He now communicates through gestures, facial expressions, and rare smiles. Emma has become an advocate for dementia awareness, sharing her family's story to help other people going through similar experiences. She's been honest about how difficult it is to watch someone you love disappear gradually, and how hard it is to explain to young children why their father can't be the same person he used to be. The entertainment industry has rallied around Bruce and his family. His die-hard co-stars have sent messages of support. Directors he worked with have shared stories about his professionalism and kindness on movie sets. Fans around the world have expressed their love and gratitude for all the joy he brought to their lives through his performances. What makes Bruce's story even more touching is how his blended family has come together during this difficult time. Demi Moore, his ex-wife, has been a constant source of support. She frequently visits Bruce and helps Emma with their daughters. The fact that these two women, who could have been bitter rivals, instead became allies in caring for the man they both love, shows the kind of person Bruce must be to inspire such loyalty and affection. Bruce's 3 older daughters, Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah, have also been open about their father's condition, sharing their own struggles with watching him change. They've talked about the importance of cherishing the good moments and holding on to memories of who their father was during his healthiest years. The disease has not just affected Bruce and his immediate family. It has impacted everyone who worked with him over the years. Stunt coordinators remember his dedication to doing his own action sequences. Directors recall his ability to improvise and bring unexpected moments of humor or emotion to scenes. Co-stars have shared stories about his generosity and kindness off-camera. Perhaps most heartbreaking of all is knowing that Bruce may not fully understand his own legacy. The man who brought John McClane to life, who made audiences laugh and cry and cheer, may not remember the joy he brought to millions of people around the world. But his family is determined to keep his memory and his achievements alive. Emma has said that she wants Mabel and Evelyn to know their father as a vibrant, funny, talented man he was, not just as a person they see now struggling with illness. She shows them his movies, tells them stories about his career, and makes sure they understand how much he accomplished and how much he was loved by fans everywhere. The Willis family's journey with dementia is far from over. Frontotemporal dementia is progressive, which means it will continue to get worse over time. There is currently no cure and no treatment that can significantly slow its progression. Families dealing with this disease often feel helpless, watching their loved ones slip away gradually while being unable to do anything to stop it. But Bruce's story is also one of incredible resilience and love. From a stuttering child who couldn't speak properly to one of the world's biggest movie stars, his life has been a testament to the power of never giving up on your dreams. Even now, in his illness, he is surrounded by people who love him unconditionally and who are committed to making sure he is comfortable and cared for. His legacy in Hollywood is secure. Movies like Die Hard, Pulp Fiction, The Sixth Sense, and Armageddon will continue to entertain audiences for generations to come. Future actors will study his performances to learn about timing, screen presence, and the art of making characters feel real and relatable. But perhaps more importantly, Bruce Willis's story reminds us all about what really matters in life. Fame and fortune are wonderful, but they mean nothing without the love of family and friends. The way his loved ones have rallied around him during his illness shows that the relationships we build and the kindness we show to others are the things that truly last. Bruce Willis may no longer be able to speak, but his life speaks volumes about courage, determination, and the power of never giving up. From a boy who couldn't get words out to a man who entertained the world with his voice and presence, his journey has been extraordinary. And even though his story is ending differently than anyone would have chosen, it's still a story worth celebrating and remembering. So the next time you watch Die Hard or any of Bruce Willis's other movies, remember that you're not just watching an actor. You're watching someone who overcame incredible odds, who turned his weaknesses into strengths, and who brought joy to millions of people despite facing challenges that would have defeated others. Bruce Willis may be fighting his toughest battle now, but he's not fighting it alone. He's surrounded by love, and his legacy will live on forever in the hearts of everyone who was touched by his work and inspired by his story. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, please hit that like button to show your support for Bruce Willis and his family. Share this video with your friends and family members who grew up watching his movies and who have been inspired by his journey. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories about the people who have shaped our world through their talent, courage, and determination. Together, we can make sure that heroes like Bruce Willis are never forgotten, and that their stories continue to inspire future generations to never give up on their dreams, no matter how impossible they might seem.